Now move on to our next session. The attraction of international tech companies has represented a key policy towards the establishment of flourishing economic ecosystems in the past 30 years. Tech companies represent anchors in smart and specialized economies, as their presence generates an ecosystem of knowledge-based SMEs and startups, and a better attitude towards innovation. Successful countries have combined their offer of excellent human capital and infrastructures with focused incentives and tax exemptions. Nevertheless, the global geopolitical conditions are rapidly changing, and the delocalization of core and critical tech companies, as well as their supply chains, is affected by conflicts and decoupling policies which counterbalance the economic advantages. How are attraction policies and company strategies going to face the new international situation? How will other factors, like the evolution of labor and capital markets, generate new opportunities and threats? Please welcome Angela Giuliano, EIC Ambassador, Managing Director across Limits, Petra Valov, Founder and CEO Exnes, Stavros Drakoularakos, General Manager at Philip Morris Cyprus, Evgenios Evgeniou, Chairman Invest Cyprus. The discussion will be moderated by Fabio Maria Montagnino, Head of Innovation and Entrepreneurship at the Cyprus Institute.
Yeah.
Thank you
so much for the introduction, and welcome to this virtual fireplace. The fire is virtual, and I've been asking for Zivania, but it's virtual as well, because I think that Zivania is a very good, let's say, attraction tool for coming in Cyprus. I'm here since 2 years, and it has been very important, to get me used to this country and from my previous place in Italy. So I want to go directly to the point, because we have not so much time. The clock will run, and I will ask you to be short in order to have more conversation and to have a real dialogue. So we are going to talk about the reason why international tech companies can be brought here in Cyprus, and what we should do to attract them, and what they would leave. And I think that these two dimensions are really connected, because the way you approach a country is then letting you, move in a direction and leave something more in terms of impact and more in terms of engagement of the people here. So I would start from Stavros,
Hello.
who has a leading position in let's say, very important international company and brand, which is Philip Morris. And your Philip Morris is going through a disruptive process, so it has been changing a lot in the last years, and you are shifting from an industrial company into a more tech and service. So you are in Cyprus with this approach, this new approach, and I want to understand more and let people understand. What are you doing here, why you are developing this presence, and what you would like to find, or what you have already found, and what are you leaving, what are you giving to the country?
Excellent. Thank you very much. Let me start off by saying that this is my first time in the Cyprus Forum, and I'm really happy and excited to be here. So, 10 years ago, I don't think that I would be in this panel, because Philip Morris used to be a tobacco company. Nowadays, we identify ourselves as a technology and science and services company, and the reason for that is that we've been investing quite a lot, almost $9 billion over the past 10 years, in order to make sure that our transformation works. And the problem that we're trying to solve, like every startup is trying to solve one problem, is the problem of smoking. And in order to do that, we develop new alternatives, which we try to bring to as many adult smokers as possible. Hence, the main reason that Philip Morris Cyprus exists for the past 4 or 5 months. Now, in terms of what makes a country or a location attractive, obviously a stable regulatory framework is important, and obviously the strategic geolocation is also important. But instead, I wanted to focus on 3 main areas that were important from our side, and we can deep dive into that as you see fit. Number 1, talent, i.e. people, both in terms of hard skills, so there are many generations of well-educated Cypriots that, that are currently here and that are available for a multinational willing to invest. But it's not just the hard skills and the types of knowledge that they're getting, it's also the soft skills. So the local culture of collaboration, of power, of passion, of commitment, of loyalty is also something that's really attractive to an employer.
Are you already happy with that?
Quite happy, yes. You know, we would not expect to have an open position like data analyst 5 years ago, but now we do, and it has been filled, or an e-commerce director. We're also learning, so this is not a do join and we're going to show you how it's done. It's more of a do join and let's find out together.
Great.
So that's number one. The number two thing that was important for us was the business partners that already exist in Cyprus. And by that I mean, for example, in our case, Cassandra CTC Group, which is our distribution partner, is our main business partner, and this has reduced our go-to market time into practically zero. So this is also important, the business partners. And third, last point, is the fact that it's not just a matter of right now, because no one comes in and is investing for 1 month or 1 year. You want to see the trajectory of where the country is going. And I believe it was a couple of months ago that I was reading this paper by the Cypriot Republic saying that over the next 10, 20 years, he wants to be a sustainable business and trade center. And this spoke to our heart, because sustainability, which at the end of the day is continuity, is what investment is all about. And it's what our strategy is all about. And
I will ask you, 30 seconds. I will give you 30 seconds to answer. This is written in many plans, in many countries. What do you think Cyprus has on, let's say, as a specificity? What is the specific point of Cyprus? Why do you think this country might compete?
Do you mean in terms of?
In terms of being a hub and business hub worldwide. If you go in the plans of most of the small, medium countries, this is what everybody is saying. But
yes, obviously saying, I was going to say that saying is not enough. You also need to measure it, and you make sure it's progress.
Yes.
Obviously, this is for the Cypriot Republic to measure and see its progress, but from our side, as I've mentioned, location, infrastructure, talent, business partners, all very important factors. But this doesn't mean that someone coming in to invest does not have responsibility. So responsibility comes both ways, from our side as well. And if I can mention 2 numbers, one would be that, for example, we're investing on a yearly basis close to $1 million to our retail network, because we want them to grow along with us. This is not something that we can win on our own. And the second thing, because sustainability is not just about numbers and finance, it's also very much about people. And a point that I'm really proud of is the fact that as Philip Morris Cyprus, we currently employ close to 100 people, directly and indirectly, and 50% of them are women. And in our management team, which is the last ceiling that women are trying to reach globally, which is top management, also 50% are women. And this is something, it's the last number I want everyone to live with.
Thank you so much. So I will move to Petr, because you have decided to start your fintech company here. Is scaling up. It has been already scaling up, so you are an international reality, but you are still here. And I read in your previous interviews that you think that Cyprus should move, and probably is moving, from being a good, let's say, hub for taxation. So the main motivation was the very good tax environment, to something more holistic. And in this holistic dimension, you are mentioning human resources, people. And this is quite in line with what Stavros is saying. So can you please explain us what is your vision? You say that it could be the Silicon Valley in the Mediterranean, but this is very challenging.
Yes, I really believe in that. There are many reasons why a company could relocate to Cyprus. One of the reasons is to have a local market, but it's very small reason, because the local market is not so big. Now, especially IT companies, they don't actually need local market. They relocate for other reasons. Either they need local labor market, so local talents, or they just need to have a good place where they can have kind of hub. For example, like Singapore and Dubai acquiring such kind of companies. So we also relocated here, and we use Cyprus as a hub to relocate people here, and there are a lot of benefits for Cyprus. That's what I repeat, in that before Cyprus was not just for taxation. Cyprus was a place for holding companies, and holding company don't need many people, just few Cypriots. It's also good. There are job places, but it's not the main benefit. When a big company relocate people here, every person, by many of our study, averagely bring 60,000 euro per year to economy, and this money go directly to small businesses and to regular Cypriots, and it's very important. It's local. It's consumption which boosts economy. For example, this year economy projection, GDP projection is 6-7%, and most of that growth attributed to IT sector. That's, I think, future of Cyprus. So Cyprus should be place for such kind of companies who, for different reasons, want to relocate their business. It could be political reasons, security, maybe they want to be in Europe for funding, but they want to be in Europe. And Cyprus is a good place. It's good geographical position. It's in the middle of Europe, CIS, Middle East, Africa. It's English language, which is not common in Europe. English education as well. It's good environment. It's part of Europe. So there are many reasons why they want to relocate here. But unfortunately, there are no local labor market, and it will not exist. Let's be realistic. Cyprus population is small. Even with the best education in the world, there will not be so many specialists in the local market. So I really believe Cyprus need to focus on this thing, because these companies and these people is the main capital of any country in the world now. So it's not oil and gas which make economy great now. It's a human capital and intellectual property. And it's competition. So it's not just open door and remove red tapes. So these countries need to compete for these people, compete for these talents. And these talents, they can find job anywhere in the world. They can pick a place, a city which they like, and find employer there. So for Cyprus is a challenge. Cyprus need to compete for these people with taxation, with environment, medical, education environment, banking system, migration regime, naturalization. There are many, many factors which make people decide to relocate to Cyprus, because they're not slaves who can move. We cannot just bring them to Cyprus. They need to make their own choice. So it's companies who decide to relocate and people who decide to relocate. But it's great value, I want to emphasize once again, great value for economy, great value for society, because by study of Ernst & Young and actually Invest Cyprus 2020, one relocated professional create 3 job places indirectly in other sectors of economy. We need to employ 30% Cypriots. It's a lot of benefits for...
Have you any country you want to benchmark with Cyprus?
I think Cyprus should benchmark, I prefer to benchmark with Singapore. We had office in Singapore, so Singapore is regional hub. If you want to have business in a APAC region, you open office in Singapore. And there are many international companies who open branch there. And they don't work with local market, because again, local market is quite tiny and population just 3 million. But they relocate people from over the Asia and put them in Singaporean office to serve the region. I think Cyprus can be the same. So Cyprus can be IT hub of that Mediterranean, but even broader region, to combine all regions around. So Singapore, I think, is the best.
And then working around human capital, as you say. So it's Singapore, because Singapore has been investing a lot in human capital.
It invests a lot in ecosystem. It's also kind of tax heaven, I would say. It's low taxation. It's good migration regime. It's easy to come, easy to make business, clear rule, transparent rules. That's what every country needs to attract companies and talents.
Thank you so much. Angela. You approach this topic from another perspective. That's the perspective of the European Innovation Council, as you are an ambassador, and the EIC is trying to promote the growth of our startups and trying to build, global champions. So it's another way to attract. It's not attracting from outside, but it's scouting and growing from inside. What do you think? How Cyprus is approaching this this other direction to get there, and have a strong business environment with very good companies here?
Yeah, I mean, the first thing I want to say is, first and foremost, to explain what is the European Innovation Council, because many people might not know, okay? So we are an EU agency.
Be short.
In short,
Be short.
in short. We are the EU agency which is trying to really address the market needs of businesses in Europe to scale up and become international. You know, we always say we're hunting for the European unicorns, which is a big word to say in Europe. As you know, in Europe, we're always competing, you know, we're competing against the Asian market, we're competing against the Americans. But there is a little bit of a market failure. So we're good in startups, we're good in research, we're good in knowledge-based economy. We tend, at a point in time, to grow up until a point and stop. And we never really go big, we never really go boom, for a variety of reasons. And the EIC is actually there to address most of those, to address the ecosystem, to address the finance gap. Now, what I think Cyprus is doing well, when I look at it, you know, from a European perspective, is that it's trying harder. So I think, you know, Cypriots are go-getters. In the sense, you already have quite a challenging, you know, life being islanders, being, you know, in the middle of a lot of different areas here, like Peter said. But you are survivors, and this is what we need in Europe. In Europe, we need businesses that will have the guts, will go for it, you know. And I think what Cyprus is doing well, indeed, it's investing in its talents, it's investing in its companies, but it's also trying, also locally, to fund these deep tech, fintech, all the other types of technologies. Yes, maybe the money is not large, but sometimes it's not only the money, it is the ecosystem. It is how they can connect. And I think all the people, I mean, I've been maybe 20 times in Cyprus, so this is not my first time here. You know, they are great networkers. Use it more, you know, but use it also to not just be made in Cyprus, but be made in Europe.
I want you to expand on the way we should keep these talents here, or more in general in the Mediterranean area, because I'm coming from Sicily. We've been struggling so much in building capacity, in creating startups, and then the startups are in Delaware. The startups are moving to Singapore. They are going to Paris or to London. So what is the right mix? And you say it's the ecosystem, it's about people, but probably this is part of the recipes we will discuss later, because this is not just about infrastructure and finance and taxation. It's about probably the full environment you find around. So it's Zivania again. It's something that is related to the pleasure to live here. I think that we share this vision that we have to work more on the broad environment.
I think Europe is a wonderful place to have like work-life balance, because it is not just a great place to work and grow a business, but it's a great place to live. You know, I always tell people, use kind of what God gave you. Yeah, here in Cyprus, like in my native Malta, you know, God gave us sun, gave us the sea, gave us, you know, great food, gave us friendly people, and we use that to attract businesses, but then to keep them and grow them. I've worked a lot with Sicilians, and I think Sicilians are also great fighters, in a good sense.
Of course.
It's just that we need to orient this energy all together, you know? We are on the same side. It's not, you know, if I lose someone from Cyprus to Sicily, that's not a loss. Let's make it work together. We need to build a bigger European ecosystem, not just, you know, each country for its own. It has to be connected.
And I think we are exactly at the right time for you, Vienius, because that's a matter of combination of tools. So you have your toolbox, and you are combining a number of instruments. So are you elaborating in this idea of having an holistic approach to the attraction of companies? And what are you asking these companies to do here? Because it's a matter then of do des, we say in Latin. It's they give, you give, but you want. What is your vision on this?
Okay, well, thank you very much, first of all, for the opportunity to be on this panel. Let's look at the big picture, first of all. The economic strategy, the economic growth strategy of Cyprus at the moment is based on a study that was conducted for the Economic Council and the Ministry of Finance with the European Union funding. And it's a comprehensive strategy and action plan. It's called Vision 2035. And the vision or the aspiration that sits at the center of that strategy is for Cyprus to be the best place to live, work, and do business. Obviously, it's a very ambitious aspiration. Now, on the basis of that, as far as attracting investments is concerned, what is at the center of our focus as Invest Cyprus is to attract to Cyprus high specialization companies and talent. So it goes to building a technology or a tech ecosystem, but potentially even beyond technology, research and development companies, pharmaceutical companies, and in other sort of high specialization fields. Now, what have we done as Cyprus the last couple of years? Cyprus has traditionally, as was said earlier, was good at attracting companies. We have a good, stable taxation system, Anglo-Saxon system of law, all the nice things that companies like. But we were not very attractive for people to relocate here. So we extended the tax incentives and the tax, let's say, friendliness to the employees as well. So now highly paid, specialized people want to come to Cyprus and work for the technology companies. There is still a lot that we need to improve to make Cyprus more attractive for these people to come. We have to make the migration process friendlier, and we have to sort out some issues that we have with regards to availability of housing and schools and stuff like that. But the market, I believe, gradually will sort them out with some support from the government. Now, this strategy is giving results. In 2021, Cyprus jumped 50 places in the Greenfield FDI rankings in terms of foreign direct investments, and that calculates the multiple paid to GDP, and for Cyprus was 3.3 the multiple. And Cyprus is in the top 10 in terms of the post-pandemic recovery for FDI. Specifically, the first half of 2022, there was a 150% increase in FDI compared to 2019.
Also, the Global Innovation Index is going very well.
It reflects that as well, and specifically for technology, for investments in software, the increase in the first half of 2022 compared to 19 was 600%. So there is progress in the right direction. Now, what is the aspiration? The aspiration or the goal is to make Cyprus even more attractive for human talent to come to Cyprus, because these people have options and they cannot be forced by their companies necessarily to come to Cyprus. And because as Invest Cyprus, we are active in the promotion and attractiveness, and sometimes companies ask for a bidding process between countries. Obviously, what they value a lot is to what extent the country is welcoming for their people. So we need to improve in that front, and then we need to ensure that this ecosystem links up with the local community, and maybe that's where I get to the last part of your question. They need to link up with the local community, both from a societal aspect in terms of their contribution back to society, but I think more importantly, the way that they are connected with our educational system, and obviously there we need to do a lot in terms of upskilling our people and modernizing our educational system. But although Cyprus doesn't have a lot of people, and necessarily these companies will need to bring people from abroad, we would like to see them employing young Cypriot talent, because that is what's going to give the opportunity to young Cypriots to have quality jobs in their country and even come back from abroad to Cyprus. And they are already doing it. I mean, only recently, I can't disclose the name because they shouldn't announce them themselves. A US-based company, Datehard, announced that they are opening an office in Nicosia. They will bring 50 people from abroad to begin with, but they will also recruit 50 people from Cyprus. So the long-term goal is for this ecosystem to become to have its own dynamism, its own growth potential, and connect with local society, the educational system, and hopefully then Cypriots, more Cypriots themselves, will start setting up their own startups, scale them up, and move internationally.
If we would have a word count of this conversation, people would have been the first word to rank, which is quite interesting, that we are all aligned around the idea that it's the core issue is about people, talents, lifestyle, and making this an attractive place. But, and this is the second question with 1 minute each, we are in a very special period probably in the history of Europe and worldwide. It's like shaking the tree, We are shaking the tree, and some apples will fall and other apples will stay there. So is it, these strategies are going to be affected, are going to be disrupted because of the specific situation? And we are in a, let's say, in this, again, in the overall situation in this particular part of the world where the friction is, you can feel it, you can see it. So what do you think, Stavros? Are we going to overcome, and how? It's a big question for 1 minute, I understand. But
first of all, may I clarify for everyone, when you say that thing, because I can think of at least 4. The geopolitical location, the energy crisis, the supply chain crisis, the war in Ukraine.
It's going to be a 5th and a 6th,
the climate.
So it's a shock every week. So we are in a...
So I think that companies, need to make strategies and need to make plans regardless of the external environment. The fact that you make that, it also means that you need to take into account that there's going to be change in your plans. As Mike Tyson famously said, everybody has a plan until they get punched in the mouth. Nowadays, we get many punches from all over the place. But we still need to keep our North Star. So strategy means, you move left, you move right, but at the end of the day, you know where we're heading. And as Philip Morris, we know where we're heading, towards a smoke-free world and to help people live better. Regarding Cyprus, I really like the fact that Evgenios was mentioning progress through numbers. So if I can give some numbers, 1 out of 4 adult smokers have already moved to new alternatives. So this is a good thing because it means it works, but also it means there's room to grow. And that's our strategy here, Smoke-Free Cyprus.
Have you your own strategy, Petr, to face this situation? How do you see it? How you are reacting to this from Cyprus and in Cyprus?
I would say for IT companies it's not so hard. So yes, we also face crisis all around the world, and I just in the morning read articles how Facebook and Google are shrinking. They stopped employing new people. They focus on replacements, but they still the biggest companies in the world. So I think IT industry is not so much affected by the crisis as other companies, and that's another benefit of attracting such companies. So Cyprus need to have some kind of surplus of such companies and people in the economy to be able to survive. And again, I refer to GDP growth, so it's much higher than overall in Europe, in Cyprus now, mostly because of IT and international companies. So that's what Cyprus, I believe, should do as economy and society, to have this surplus of companies and people to be able to overcome these hard times.
What the EIC
EIC is doubling down. This is the time when we actually, as Europe, this is the time of resilience. We need, European resilience. We need to come together more than ever. This is the time of unity between Europe, also at a business level. Because I think all these crises have taught us that sometimes we can only depend on ourselves, on our 27 member states and neighbors, okay? So I think it's really important, and this is also where I see the future of the EU going, that, you know, we really continue funding, we really continue working together, we really continue strengthening the links between the countries, because only together we can face all of these challenges and somehow, you know, survive.
So there's time for investing Cyprus to be more interconnected and work.
I mean, the time is limited.
Yeah, but
I would say that the only certainty, and this has been the case for the last decade and more, is uncertainty and instability. I think in this environment, Cyprus has demonstrated time and time again its resilience, and we're again resilient. And as was said earlier, we have, you know, counter to the pandemic, counter to the war, we have good GDP growth. I'm not saying that things are going to be easy later on. Maybe next year there are challenges in the economy, but from the investment attractiveness perspective, Cyprus is demonstrating that in this sea of instability is a stable place to do business, and you know, the statistics speak for themselves. In 2022, through the scheme of you know, relocating high specialist people to Cyprus, 7,000 people came to Cyprus, and this is people outside the European Union. There was a number, maybe 4,000 or 5,000 the previous year. It's higher this year. It has to do with the instability because in Ukraine and other areas, other countries in the region. So yes, we're a member of the European Union. We are in an unstable region, but we offer stability and predictability. We're moving in the right direction, and we're working hard to improve and to make Cyprus, as I said, a better place for people to live, work, and do business.
So let's go on and let's meet next year to see the progress. Thank you very much for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.